All I think of when we walk here is those guys who like went. What was the guy who went?
Oh yeah.
Wait, Jack, you weren't there for that, but this guy who just like he saw Billy and Kian with their arms ready to and like ran across the road. And we were like, is this a homophobic attack? I can't tell.
I'm pretty sure.
Because he could have been high, or he could have just been high on life.
I think it was on steroids.
He was high on homophobia.
He was high on at least one thing. He was just going to scream incoherently at us.
I'm pretty sure the person who's screaming.
I think he was trying to say faggot, but it didn't work.
Trans guys have to do.
It's like there are people who live exclusively on Soylent.
Well, if I
It
can
also suppresses testosterone, or so the scientific literature
maybe I'll
says.
stop being an aggressive black woman if I suppress my testosterone, you know? That's
But
how
it's
it
just
works.
really fun. I just
love
think you
it.
want to subjugate yourself to that.
I'm saying that I'm trying to become as white as possible so I'm acceptable to society.
Look, it's literally
Okay.
got.
You just like
Comment on it as well. I need some like comments like.
I'd always wished to be a girl for years, but it was just a repressed thought and I knew I wasn't living my best life, but I didn't know what it was. And it wasn't until last year where I really came to terms with what exactly was causing it.
It took me a long time because I was sort of, it's easier to ignore it when you're bi, and I spent a long time really ignoring it because it wasn't okay to be gay in the house that I was living in. So I only came to that conclusion when I moved in with my dad, where it was sort of fine, and then I was allowed to kind of process it.
I sort of realised I was bisexual around 10, 11-ish, but it wasn't until sometime last year that I realised I was non-binary. I don't know if I've had many struggles with it. I suppose some people have treated me slightly differently, but most people have been very comfortable with who I am.
Despite knowing that there were other trans people out there, I did not think I was capable of making that journey myself. I didn't really know anyone, like none of my friends were gay or LGBT. I just kind of found, I want to say people on the internet or people on social media who were posting stuff about like being gay is okay and whatnot, and then realized I could accept that about myself.
It was the biggest demonstration Manchester has seen, nearly 3 times the size of yesterday's Health Workers' March. The protesters claimed Pause 28 was an attack not just on them, but on human rights.
I hope that there is significant progress in the 2020s. The 2010s seemed like it was more an introductory period for a lot of people who had just simply never heard of trans people outside of a comedic sense as a joke in old films. But this was a time where people really started to realize that we exist and we face struggles and we're not going to be silenced. And I really hope that in the 2020s there's at least more legislature push. I mean, I live in the UK, one of the best countries to be transgender if you consider on a worldwide basis, but even out of the countries that are trans friendly, it's nowhere near what trans people would consider good enough for supporting gender identity and gender fluidity. And across all of the countries that have the best trans legislature, there's still so much work that needs to be done and so much misinformation that's spread every day.
I think that like the 20s will be defined in a very similar way because, well, I feel like we've come a long way as far as sexuality goes, but I know we have a long way to go for like trans people, and like there's obviously much more expansion of the like queer identity in general. So I think there's a lot to come this sort of decade.
I mean, we still have a ways to go, and there are still plenty of people who aren't happy with the progress being made.
I would say that identity politics in many ways has burned itself out over the past decade. I feel like it's gotten to the point where we now define ourselves in terms of these characteristics. I don't go around screaming I'm transgender. While it is a part of who I am, I don't feel like in this next decade, I feel like the policies will be towards inclusion rather than creating a space for ourselves.
He was like, I need to know where you got that badge because it's Rainbow and my daughter's a homosexual. I must know. Please. And she just was like, oh my god, okay, I'll just give it to you. I'll just give it to you.
It's difficult to judge happiness as a binary spectrum here because obviously since coming out I've had to deal with a lot of things that I found it comforting to repress in the past. But really in terms of myself and how I interact with the world, I am thriving so much better. I genuinely like myself for the first time in years. I love interacting with people around me in a way I just didn't before.
I spent like 6 or 7 years just being very confused and sort of trying to suppress that part of myself. So now that I don't have to, I'm much happier.
I'm much happier with myself because I had to go back, I want to say, in the closet to see certain people, and I must say that experience after having been out, it was completely traumatizing for me. So I realize now, comparatively, how happy, how satisfied, and how just generally content I am with my life, or the new life that I've discovered I should be living.
I'm Daisy, I'm 16, and I am bi and a trans girl.
My name is Mimi, I'm 18 and I'm bisexual.
Hello, I'm Billy, I am 17 and I am non-binary bisexual.
I'm Juliet, I'm 17, almost 18, and I'm trans and most likely bisexual.